Hey guys, I'm C85, and today I am actually here with John Hauptman. John from PHLster. John's a buddy of mine. He actually lives in Minnesota as well. And if you are privy at all to anything that's been going online as far as new holster innovations, you'll definitely be aware of John's newest addition to his holster lineup, which is the Enigma. I had the honor of being able to photograph it a little bit before it was launched. It's amazing, but I'm going to go ahead and step behind the camera and I'm going to have John talk about his new Enigma holster and everything it has to offer. So John, it's all yours.
Oh, thanks.
So John, first things first, talk to us about the Enigma and what makes it different than every other holster that's out there.
Okay, so we're going to have to circle back a little bit before we get into that. We got to establish kind of like the ins and outs of the holster space and of contemporary holster design. So with more and more people carrying concealed, you know, the trend for concealed carry has been a very upward curve over the past couple decades. So we've got more people carrying in more different contexts as part of their daily life. So concealment becomes a greater and greater priority for people. And what we've noticed over the years is that the desire for concealment causes people to gravitate towards concealment methods which offer them greater degrees of concealment. That being primarily for a lot of people is going to be appendix carry in some variation. You know, it typically once you start getting your holster set up correctly and your gun selection down and your manner of dress kind of dialed in, you get a lot less printing on average, right? So, and a lot of that's just a function of the fact of how your body bends, right? Your body's going to always bend forward towards the gun when you're carrying appendix, as opposed to away from the gun when you're carrying strong side. So normal kind of motion and activity doesn't cause the gun to print. So that's kind of a driving factor for the popularity of appendix carry in concealed carry. So once we're in that space and we're looking at the refinements that we can apply to appendix carry holsters in general, we get into a lot of the stuff that you see in today's holsters. A lot of people talk about grip rotation and having a wedge on your holster. So those two factors, those two components of a contemporary appendix carry holster are going to do things like cause the grip to print less when you tighten down your belt. So for example, our Pro Series holster has a wing on it, an adjustable wing, such that when you tighten down your belt, the grip of the gun turns into your body. And also, holsters these days, you know, you'll see a lot of holsters with an add-on wedge, a Velcro-on wedge, a foam wedge, or a molded-in wedge. And what that does is that causes the, you know, if you imagine the belt going across the face of the holster, once you've got a loaded gun in this holster, most of the mass of the gun is above the belt line. So that means it wants to kind of tip out away from the body, especially if you've got a little bit more of a midsection. So you get tipping out away from the body. So things like a wedge kind of help tip the gun back into the body. So with the combined wedge and grip rotation, you get a lot less printing. Now, those are the two things that a lot of folks these days are actively incorporating into appendix carry holsters in order to mitigate printing and increase comfort, right? So like one of the things about the gun tipping out away from the body is that the muzzle's going to contact you a lot more aggressively, and so it'll give you a hot spot below the waistband, right? And so that's a lot less comfortable. So all the things that we're doing to improve concealment are also improving comfort simultaneously. So those are factors that are going into modern appendix carry holsters. Now, if we fast forward to the Enigma that we have here, we're solving a number of other problems. So this device comes with its own backstory. In the space of concealed carry, I've gotten to know a lot of really great people who are designing and making concealed carry products. My best friends are other holster makers. They're the people who I talk to the most. And a very good friend of mine, Jules, runs a company called Runcible Works. Now they're kind of small, kind of hard to find. You got to really be in the know to know who they are, but if you do know who they are, you're aware of their product line. Jules makes bespoke, one-off, high-tech solutions for carrying without a belt. And this is kind of like in his background of being an air marshal, he deals with a lot of that stuff, and he's developed a system that's all kind of like built in together with a underbelt system that incorporates a holster shell. And I've been watching him make these for a lot of years, and God, are they fascinating and fantastic, and they're full of just like immense knowledge of concealment and materials. And as my business changed and developed over the years, I found myself with the opportunity to approach him and ask him if there was anything we could do to kind of bring these ideas and executions to a larger audience, rather than it being something that he, you know, makes in limited quantities for a very kind of focused and dedicated audience. And so back in 2018, he and I sat down and started the process of figuring out how to kind of design for manufacture a system that would include a lot of his concepts. And as we sort of went through all of these design iterations and prototypes and explorations of materials and executions, I was also involved in a couple other projects. A company that we work with, Axle Advanced, manufactures all kinds of really interesting things for plate carriers and overt equipment like that. And we had been working with them on some concealment products. And I had a pile of this material in my home workshop, and a laser cutter and whatnot. And my wife comes into the room and asks if she can use some of this material and take one of the belts that we had sewn up for these and mess around with that. And I'm like, sure, go ahead, knock yourself out. And I go back to like tinkering with whatever this is, and she comes in the room with a piece of this woven polymer rigid textile that we've been using for this other application, and shows me that she's bolted it up to her holster. And so I immediately call Jules and tell him, hey, so, you know, we've been wasting our time chasing our tails on this other thing. Why don't we explore this instead? And so we take this concept and refine it even further. So we came up with the Enigma. And sort of as we had just discussed, concealment is a three-dimensional endeavor, right? You need to move the gun in multiple different axes in order to accomplish the end state of maximum concealment. It's not just, you know, moving it in one direction. The problem that we had not been looking at for all these years of designing holsters and concealment solutions is the belt as a holster support device only acts in one axis. The belt only makes the holster move this way. When you tighten the belt, you apply a uniform amount of pressure across the face of the holster, and anything that you're going to do to change the way the gun behaves in relationship to your body is going to have to take place as the result of just one kind of pressure applied to the holster. And we talk about the gun belt being the key to concealed carry. You got to get a good belt. You got to get a good belt. And so we've had in our heads for all these years the idea that the gun belt is the gold standard for concealment. And as we got deeper into designing this device, we came to discover all the ways in which a conventional belt actually is a limiting factor to some degree, more than it is the gold standard we thought it was. So, going back to all the principles that we discussed here, and shameless plug, if you want to know more about the principles of concealment, my YouTube channel is Philly EDC. And if you take a look, we've got videos entitled Concealment Tune-Up, which are recorded from a class that I've given a couple times with the Active Self-Protection National Conference, where we talk about all of these things in detail, and it also features crude drawings on a white erase board for those of you who are highly visual learners. So if you want to refer back to that, that'll go into all these kind of things in a greater depth. However, concealment is a three-dimensional endeavor. We're moving the gun in multiple directions, relying on a device which only applies one direction of pressure. Now, what if we could kind of overcome all of those things, right? The size of the wing on a conventional holster dictates that, plus the belt tension dictates how much the grip rotates. But you get uniform pressure across the entire face of the gun. What if you want the grip to rotate more than the slide starts to print? Or what if you have an optic on your gun? A lot of folks will be familiar with this, so especially you hardcore folks who carry with something like an SRO on your gun. You throw your belt on, you tighten down your belt, you get that grip to stop printing, but then the optic prints. Or small people might notice that that their rear sight prints through their shirt. Or depending on the way you're shaped, you might get the whole kind of slide area of the gun to start printing through your shirt, depending on how the wedging system is set up on your gun. One of the things you'll notice about the Enigma faceplate is that it's skeletonized. That allows us to do something that a conventional gun belt cannot do, which is have variable flexibility across the face of the gun. Having variable flexibility across the face of the gun, and by being able to attach this underclothes belt to different locations closer or further from the wing, allows you to change how much the grip rotates for any given amount of belt pressure, and you can also fine-tune how much the faceplate restricts or allows counter-rotation in response to that. That's number one. Number two is that when you have a gun belt and you want to change the ride height of the holster, you're also changing the center of mass. On a conventional holster, when you change the ride height, you increase, say you want to increase the ride height so that the muzzle of the gun isn't too far into your pants, or in case you want more grip access. Well, when you change the ride height, increase the ride height, that is, you increase you change the center of mass of the gun such that there's more mass above the belt line, which means it wants to tip out away from the body more, and you'll get more printing. What if the adjustment of the center of mass of the gun was independent from the belt? So what if you could wear this gun wherever you wanted on your body in terms of height adjustment without any concern about how much it tips out? So you'll see that the faceplate on this is curved. That means that we can attach the belt higher relative to the gun. So if you were to imagine a straight line across the face of this, the belt would intersect the gun at a height which would, obviously make it hard to grip the gun. If you were wearing your belt this high on the gun, you would have to dig it out of your pants. But we all know that, at that point you start to get a little bit more comfort because the mass of the gun is restrained, and you get less printing because, the grip of the gun is sort of largely controlled by the belt intersecting it. However, we don't do that because that increases the challenges of deploying the gun. But by having a curved faceplate, that allows us to effectively have the center of mass of the gun lowered. So you get more comfort and more concealment without any grip compromise as well. If you wanted to, say, depending on your anatomy, leave the gun at whatever height it is on your body, but also influence the degree to which it tilts inward or outward from the body, you can adjust this belt relative to the center of mass. So if you need it to tilt out away from you a little bit more, you can leave the gun at the same height and just install the underclothes belt on a different location. This is all very highly technical. I feel like we've kind of like jumped into an incredible deep end of concealment. Let me just do a little demo here while we're here. This entire time I've been wearing mine just in regular clothes. But you don't have to dress around the gun anymore. You can wear this with sweatpants or a skirt or a kilt or joggers or anything you could possibly want to wear this with while using a conventional holster. Our Pro Series bolts directly up to this. So you're not stuck with a floppy elastic pouch like a belly band. There's no kind of compromise going on here. You get a real 100-proof, fight-ready holster that you can carry in any clothes. So the belt is adjustable. You can trim it if it doesn't fit you the way you like. It's got a really cool clasp on it, which makes it really easy to put on. You don't have to take it off when you go to the bathroom, which is solved. Apparently, you know, something that people like. I've found out since we've released this, especially in the discussion forums that we host about it. Everyone is struggling with the inconvenience of going to the bathroom with a gun, but just not talking about it. Everyone kind of just like keeps their struggle a little bit silent about like, oh, where do I put my gun when I go to the bathroom? Do I want to put it in my pants? Do I put it on something in the stall? Do I want it to touch anything? You can just leave this on your body as normal. Which I was surprised at how widespread that kind of like secret struggle is. But the other thing is that now, instead of doom scrolling on your phone in the bathroom, you can now reclaim that as dry fire time, which I think is a net bonus for the social media addicted among us, myself included. So, some of you might be asking, what the hell is this part? Well, something to keep in mind is that when you were wearing pants, jeans with a belt attached, and you draw your gun from the holster, your pants play a part in keeping your belt down as much as your belt plays a part in keeping your pants up. If you were to just wear a regular gun belt under your clothes and draw your gun, the whole thing's going to shift upward to a pretty significant degree, which means that you're going to have to pull the gun really far before the holster releases. This is a leg leash. You adjust this to kind of loosely fit your leg, the same as, you know, a pair of pants would generally fit your leg. It doesn't feel tight, it's not obtrusive, you don't notice it any more than your underwear until you go to draw the gun and the leash tensions against your leg and the holster releases the gun cleanly as though you were wearing it on a pair of pants. So this is just essentially a pants simulator to go along with the belt. Like right now, we're in the terrifying position of having a wait list for this thing, which is a little scary, and we definitely don't want to wind up in a circumstance where it becomes unobtainium. So we're, by the end of January, we will have made several thousand of these and have cleared the wait list and hopefully have stabilized ongoing, consistent inventory. Right now, we are getting over the hump of realizing that we didn't make a esoteric piece of hardcore piece of concealed carry gear for all of our serious gun and training dork friends, and have instead accidentally made something that apparently everybody wants, as weird as it is. So that was a little bit of a surprise to us. So we're definitely working really hard to make a lot more of these. And we should be through that scaling cycle by the end of January if things stay consistent. If the demand increases, we're going to have to reevaluate that, but I think we're probably going to do okay for the next couple months. Another cool thing about the Enigma, which I forgot to mention, is that you'll notice this bolt-on wing. These bolt-on wings are a off-the-shelf product used by a really wide variety of holster makers. This is just a part that any number of companies source from a holster supply house and include on their holsters, which means it's broadly standardized across the industry. The Enigma bolts up directly to the hole spacing for this wing. It does so directly over top of the wing. This is a slightly different model, but is just as popular and widespread. So that means that Enigma is not necessarily holster specific. That means that if you have a holster with one of these wings, you can get the Enigma faceplate without a holster and use this with the gear that you already have. So we've built it around a fairly standardized piece of holster making equipment that you're going to find on a lot of different manufacturers. So this is ready to go with with a pretty wide cross section of what's available in the holster marketplace as far as appendix carry holsters go.
First of all, thank you. I really appreciate you coming to the channel. That's pretty fantastic information that John shared with us. If people have more questions, or if they want to see more photos or anything like that, what is the best place for them to go, like kind of the one-stop shop for them to get more information on the Enigma?
So you can go to PHLsterholsters.com and just click the Enigma banner at the top. From there you will learn more about the product, see the great photos that Nate took for the product photography.
Oh, you're too much.
And you can also go to the PHLster Concealment Workshop on Facebook, where we've got a community of people who are serious about refining their concealed carry game, and where people are learning about how to adjust this and get it to and optimizing it for themselves. Because in a lot of ways, the amount of adjustment that this gives you, the freedom from the gun belt and the clothing that it gives you, is a little bit like starting from scratch in terms of concealed carry. Like, there's a little bit of taking your hands off the handlebars of a bike for the first time when you realize how much gun you can carry, how little it has to do with what you're wearing, and the degree to which it conceals and disappears. It's very interesting, and so there's a little bit of a learning curve involved, but we're also very much participating in helping everyone through the learning curve. And in the group, there are a lot of people who are helping each other through the learning curve as well. And it's a very cool place to be and learn more about concealed carry as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by, especially during, you know, a global pandemic.
Well, you know.
So
it's just an apocalypse. It's just a small apocalypse.
Yeah, just teeny tiny. We're not rationing food yet, so that's okay.
We're not rationing pets either, so we're definitely doing fine.
If you guys want to know any more information, go to the websites that John told you about. Reach out to him. Reach out to me if you have any questions. But it's something that's quite innovative and pretty neat, especially firsthand seeing it. So check them out. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good day. See you later.